Oh yeah, I guess we have an intro.
We gotta change up that tarps off photo on the intro.
If anybody wants to know how important Dakota Josh was to the Vancouver Canucks, that was the game. Okay, so condiments. This is everything.
Everything. So we run the gamut completely, right?
I'm talking about sriracha on the bottle.
Sriracha?
Sriracha. It's that silent R that screws me up.
Is it a silent R?
I don't know. Like who's tall?
Who's tall?
Chris Pronger, wasn't he tall?
Chris Pronger was tall. Yeah.
Welcome to the PP1 Podcast.
Are you kidding me? That's what?
Shout out to our man Jesse Roper. We will eventually get him when he's done being a super megastar across Europe and the US. We'll get him in the show. Thank you for letting us use your song for our podcast, the PP1 Podcast. He's just amazing. The PP1 Podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network, brought to you by DraftKings, promo code THPN, and Game Time. Get your tickets here.
Your hair is wild today.
You know, you're not the first person to say that. My wife said I need a haircut.
It's no Juwan Jennings flat top, but it's like pretty good.
Oh, wow. Deep dive. I'm trying to think, who would it be? Like who?
It's a cross podcast deep cut.
This is like
it's like you look like Jake Busey hair. That's what's going on there.
Oh, geez. There's a pull.
Jake Busey circa Starship Troopers.
Okay. All right.
One of my all-time favorite movies, by the way, Starship Troopers.
B44 I was going to go.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Without the blonde streaks, but it's there.
Yeah, I could see that.
Jake Busey, Starship Troopers. There, yeah. Oh, man. We are going deep.
Jake Busey, Frighteners. You remember Frighteners?
He was in Contact, too. Remember? Really? He was the radical guy that blew up the spaceship, remember?
I don't think I saw Contact.
He was like a radical, like, evangelist guy. And then he went to like blow up the spaceship right before they were about to fly or about to go into.
To me, that's a forgotten.
It's a good movie.
Scary movie. Contact. But I mean, Frighteners. Remember Frighteners?
I don't know. I'm not a scary movie person.
It's a Michael J. Fox movie. It's not scary. It's like an action. It's got ghosts and stuff in it. It's kind of like a action comedy adventure.
Ghost was kind of scary. Once he died, things got really dicey. I thought there are some scary parts.
I don't
get off my train. Remember that? Let's watch Ghost together. We can make pottery.
Make bowls. Nice cups.
We'd be like Seth Rogen. So welcome to the show, everybody. We're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. I'm vibing. We wanted to do the show tomorrow, but there's a Canucks game. We wanted to maybe kind of do one on Friday, but Ted is living the fabulous life of a jet setter, and he's in box seats for the hockey game.
Right. So our local hockey team in the WHL.
Box seats are box seats, man. Box seats are box seats. I don't care how you get them. I don't care for the Ballet, if they're for the Rockets. And then Saturday, the Canucks play Edmonton, and then it's Sunday already, and it's a long weekend, and I want to get in a round of golf, so like nobody's podcasting. So we're here because we have two shows. Our lives are crazy busy. Oh, and we have families, by the way.
Oh, right.
Right, and we've got to do that. So like I literally just got home less than 10 minutes ago. So we're dedicated to this show. If you guys want to join, you just talk about Canucks or literally whatever you like. I'm trying to find like our little folder here. If you would like to, come have a chat with us, obviously follow our YouTube, follow our Facebook, Twitter. We have an Instagram that is active every now and then, here and there, such and such. Come chat. I know Grant will be here at some point. He just didn't know we were going to do the show tonight, which is fine. But I think, first and foremost, Ted, I think the elephant we got to get out of the room Tuesday night. This isn't something we would normally talk about on this show. I find sometimes it's just not the right arena to talk about it. But I feel that it was a pretty big Tuesday, And I'm just going to bring this up, and I'm sorry, but I think we do need to talk about it because everybody is talking about it after Tuesday night. Quinn Hughes is the third fastest defenseman to 300 points, only behind Bobby Orr and Brian Leach. Incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I think I'm just like, and I've talked about this a couple times before, how you pinned your tweet a while back. You all took the Sedins for granted. Like, don't you feel like we're living that a little bit right now with Quinn Hughes? Like, he's so exciting to watch it. We're watching it. But on that same token of like complaining to the rest of the world that they don't know how good the Twins are because they don't watch them every night. Like, we've almost run into that with like Quinn Hughes. Like, we're watching him every night and we're like sort of like awestruck on how good he actually is when we start actually diving into the numbers of how good this freaking hockey player is. And the
I don't know. Like, I'm going to disagree with you on the taking him for granted part, because I think most of us, and you kind of mentioned this as you're saying it, I think we're still figuring out like how insane it is that he is a Canuck. Like, like my dad and I were chatting about this morning. I said, you just have to giggle when this guy has the puck, because he's just doing things that are beyond possible, and he makes them look so effortless, and he's finishing. You know, like the Sedins took a little while to become what they were, but you could see like that the brains were in sync. But then when it finally took off, that's when we're like, oh my gosh, like what do we have here? Whereas we already know what we have and we still can't believe it. Yeah, like you won a Norris Trophy and we're like, there's a better version of Quinn Hughes still. Right? Like Cale Makar is the same way. Like you can put a couple of those guys in that boat. Like I'm sure, I would hope anyway, if you're a Colorado Avalanche fan or you live in Colorado and have seen, like Cale Makar came out of the gates just going. Like that first playoff run was something else. We're like, this guy already is the best defenseman in the NHL. And we're not saying that about Quinn. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Quinn Hughes is in that conversation now, and we still
Quinn Hughes
don't
included. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So very, very cool. I personally don't take Quinn Hughes for granted, and I'm not saying that, you know, look at me high and mighty. I'm still impressed and like starstruck every single time. Whereas I think we all wanted the Sedins to like be something else, or like get traded away so they could start building, and like we celebrated them, but we really didn't understand just how incredible they were. I still don't think that we do, because there's never going to be two guys like that ever again. I mean, it'd be crazy if there was, but I mean, the fact that we're going to talk about Ovechkin in a little bit, I mean, we all thought Gretzky's goal record would never get touched. And I mean, by March, we could be witnessing history. So pretty crazy.
He's still dangerous. Just speaking of Cale Makar, I mean, the guy's got 23 points in 13 games.
Does he now?
Yeah. Like we talk about how close him and Quinn are, and how the same, but also how different they are in their game style. Mm-hmm. And he just looks like he's next level right now. Like, granted, that power play is firing on all cylinders, and if the Vancouver power play was firing, Quinn would have a few more points. But
yeah,
what Makar is doing right now is like off the charts good.
Do you think he had an off year last year?
Yeah,
like I mean, as far as Makar standards go.
Sure, I mean that's scary, right?
Yeah.
But off year, he was nicked up a little bit. Like, he had some problems, just sort of like getting it in gear and then having it stay there with some consistency with health and stuff. But he's still so dangerous. Like that group of defensemen that are like smaller guys that just move around. Adam Fox, Cale Makar, Roman Josi, Quinn Hughes. I mean, in today's league now, we could probably name a couple more guys too, right? Like it's just. They're so incredibly good, and in terms of like the explosive skill of it all. Yeah, I mean, it's Cale Makar is pretty hard to touch, right? I mean, but they're different players. Like Hughes probably better defender,
right? Makar's more on the offensive capabilities,
yeah, and like I think it's helpful. I mean,
settling for one. Oh no,
yeah, and like we're talking about like. this decor and how much a guy like Quinn can help a player like Eric Brandstrom.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So pretty exciting stuff.
We're spoiled.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say this. I've been thinking about this for a couple days, and I have this in the rundown. I'm not going to complain this show. I'm not going to complain about statistics.
Been a bit of a sad sack lately. He's trying
I have been, and I feel like that's not what this show is about. So I'm not going to complain. I'm going to be positive this show because I do feel that there's lots to be positive about. I've been listening to some other shows and talking about what's happened the last little bit, but I mean, there is a lot to celebrate. And I mean, we're just so spoiled, and we've just had the bar risen so much in the last year and a bit that I think, and this isn't being negative, I'm just like, we need to pump the brakes and realize what's going on right now still. Like Lankinen, 6-0-1 in his last 7. Quinn Hughes just getting her done. Brock Besser scoring. Connor Garland, he's super Connor Garland, which is basically just the height of a normal person. A la Darren Sproles double crossover today. And I mean, Pettersson is finally getting going. Jake DeBrusk has scored back-to-back games. I want to say Kiefer Sutherland, but Kiefer 24. Kiefer Sherwood is becoming a massive fan favorite, which is, I don't know how you contain it when Dakota Joshua comes back, because now you have two, like, we're going to air quotes, energy guys, even though Connor Garland also is one of those, but in like the stereotypical energy guy fashion. Like, there is an insane amount going on with the Canucks, and they don't even have Demko. Like, we're just like, yep, this is what the Canucks are doing right now.
Imagine when you really start leaning into being positive.
Yeah. This feels good.
Like something bad's going to happen. You'll be like, we're screwed. And
I'm wearing this
shirt. Be more positive. And then you'll be like, we're screwed.
Hey, but that's all right. It's like, I'm wearing this Kirby shirt right now, and it's like, and I've got like all this positivity in me. Like, it's great. Just don't want to let out the hot air. I let out the hot air by talking, I think, is what I do. So yeah. I'm gonna be positive in this show. I'm gonna get wire to wire 2011. I'm gonna be positive.
Wire to wire. I mean, that's a commitment.
I'm gonna do my best.
That's a commitment. I think keep bringing the realist vibes, I think, to this show, right? But we talked last week about this team like not having their best stuff quite yet.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still managing to pick up points. And I think I don't think we've leaned into that enough about how much that can save a team and allow a team to continue to figure their game out while they're doing it, while they're picking up points. And yeah, they've been exposed by a couple teams, right?
But the W's are still there.
The W's are still there, right? And yeah, they got exposed versus Jersey, and they got exposed versus Carolina. They look bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but they're still picking up wins. San Jose game,
they won,
whatever, but they won, right?
I mean,
but last, Tuesday's game though, that looked as close to a complete game as we've seen this team all season. They looked good
goalie and against a good goaltender,
and Shilov's looking like he's back a little bit more. And
wasn't it Lankinen was in net though?
No, but just in
general. Okay.
Yeah, just in general, right? I mean, like, he's looked like he's trying to pick his game up a little bit, and then Lankinen just looks like he's just absolute fire right now. Like,
that's such a smart pickup.
Oh yeah, but to just not ride the guy either, and to give starts to Shilovs and them, he's like, I don't know. This team finally looks like they're starting to turn the corner. Like, Petey looked really good last game. Like, the guy had 10 shots towards the net last game. I know he only hit the net 5 times, but like, there's been games where he's only attempted like 3 or 4 shots.
Mm-hmm.
He looked a little bit greedy. He's going to the net, like he's involved in the play. And his line looked good. Like, they looked pretty dominant when they were out there. And I know that it's just Anaheim, blah, 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 right? But if they're throwing their fastball against Anaheim, they should be throwing their fastball against Anaheim. And it was there, and they looked good, man. Like, I'm excited. I feel like this team now has really started, like, this could be the game where they started to turn the corner and really just like ramp things up. And I feel the same way that this could be that same statement, not a statement game, but the same game where PD starts to get his legs under him and now starts to stack good games in a row, right?
Would you say like the this might be a poll. Would you say that the San Jose game was much like the Carolina game against Vancouver when Burrows scored? Now, the Canucks had lost 10 straight or 9 straight at that point, but similar vibes, similar, like this, in a way, not the sky's falling, but like, guys, we got to get, like, the people that need to score need to get going. And then it changed.
Yeah.
I mean, we've said this for long enough, but there's a lot of talent on this team. And Pettersson's going to be, they'll go as far as he goes. And the higher he can climb, the more things this team can do. Because Quinn Hughes is going to be Quinn Hughes. Philip Hronik is going to be Philip Hronik. And if they do those things, again, depth on defense is going to be a lot more secure. You're not necessarily going to see the puck in your zone as much, let alone that means less shots on net, which means the goaltenders have more time to prepare. All those things, everything just starts to get this big snowball of things, right? And adding in extras like, Sherwood and Joshua and Connor Garland being consistent and Brock Besser finally scoring goals, like all these things together matter. And they start to look like now it's not just the Canucks are winning. It's like, well, the Canucks rattled off another 5-goal night, or the Canucks are only giving up 12 shots a game, or, when the stats start to matter in like the way you're like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I can't miss the Canucks, or I'm going to miss the Canucks game tonight, but they're playing this. So as long as the highlights look like, as long as my fantasy team does well, I'm assuming they win. Like, it's just those kind of things. Like Steve was talking about it last night on the football show about JT Miller, and we're all like, well, the Canucks are killing it. Like, man, come on, JT, get another point. Like, it's getting to that point, right? Now we're getting a little silly. So it's a good feeling when this team that has turned the tide is making their ascent again. I think that's it's fun to see it where it starts, because now they got LA tomorrow. That's going to be a crazy good game.
It's going to be a good game. Yeah.
In LA. And I mean, if you've been to Staples or whatever it's called, Crypto or whatever it's called now, they're a knowledgeable hockey base. They love their hockey, and especially there is a rivalry there with Vancouver. It's going to be a banging time out there. And then you've got the Connor McDavid, who is back tonight. Oilers on Saturday, rocking the skate jersey. Like, come on, man. This is what we're talking about. This is Canucks, baby.
Yeah. I mean, we spoke a little bit about Steve's being a big Ravens fan. Obviously, we're on the football pod last night, and we talked about how the Ravens are like, that team's defense looks terrible right now, but that is a dangerous team offensively. And it's like, what do you mean they look dangerous with that defense being so bad? I'm like, well, look at all the players on that squad right now. Like, eventually you have to believe they're going to figure it out. And when they do, they're going to go on an absolute tear. And I think we're just waiting for that tipping off point for the Canucks right now. And it hasn't been a case of this team is garbage and they're not, like you said, they're picking up points, right? So at some point this is going to come to a head, and you have to hope that they start to figure it out even more so, and then really start to lock this thing down. And then all of a sudden we could be looking like, we would love, who wouldn't love to see this team go streaking, right?
Oh, we're going streaking.
In the immortal words of Hank the Tank, like, we're going streaking. Like,
we're going streaking.
As difficult as it is, it's Frank the Tank. As difficult as it is to see a losing streak, right, where you're stuck in a rut and you can't get out of it, like, the same thing can happen on the opposite end of the spectrum. And that's what I want to see.
Grant, you're late. Just saying.
Jeez, Grant, late.
Yeah, you got to. That's what we do, man. Your bestest friends. You got to bust their chops. Yeah, exactly. It's contagious. It's also as contagious when they were losing. Like, that was the best part about the show, was that we always had stuff to talk about. There's a lot of fodder that we could get. Printers are the worst. Like, universally, printers and bike lanes, but that's a whole other show. There was always something to talk about, but when it's good, I mean, we're picking apart. We're going to get to the point where, like, they're not going to score on 2 power plays, and we're going to be picking apart how the power play needs to be more destructive, like how they should just score on every power play. Like it's going to be silly town at that point.
And then at some point we're going to add Dakota Joshua and we're going to add Thatcher Demko. And this team is going to get even better. It has that ability.
Let's go. Skate jersey. I want to get back to that for a second. So they only wear this on Saturday, and then they don't wear it until early December for a 3-game stretch. The nice thing is every time they're going to wear it, aside from this one, it'll be 3 games in a row. So it's inevitable. It is going to come back. It just makes too much sense. You don't wear a 3rd jersey almost half of your home games just for fun. Let's be honest, folks.
Why not, though?
I mean, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're doing it. So, like, you don't just do that to just appease everybody. They're setting.
So, hey, I got to give it to you. You've been talking about this and manifesting this for years now.
Yeah.
You've been reading the tea leaves with this, and yeah, it's credit's yours, bud.
Well, there's a few people that have been on this train, and it's gonna happen. And I've changed my mind on what the new skate looks like. Because I mean, it's a tough.
It looks great. I can't even believe we had this conversation about you not liking the new skate jersey.
And I went on this. It was because I'm a purist, and I didn't want that thing changed. Like, it was, I was of the mind, you can't change my childhood. But they found a way to bring kid Ryan to meet adult Ryan, and they're best friends now. We're going streaking, which would be weird, but we're not going to get into that. So anyway, skate jersey, very awesome. Quinn Hughes, 300 assists, just absolute bonkers.
Alex Edler next.
Yeah.
10 more points.
Yeah, these are all coming. 10 more points.
10 more assists, sorry.
10 more assists? So that could happen by next weekend.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So he goes on like Cale McCarr run.
I mean,
they could hit a hot power play over 4 games.
Canucks schedule. Let's just check this out. So they got the Kings. Let's say he gets an assist. He's going to get 1 tomorrow night. It's going to be a tough game. He's going to get 2 on Saturday. That's 3. He's going to get 2 on Tuesday. That's 5. So that's against Calgary. The Islanders, he's going to get another 2. So that's 7. So next Saturday against the Blackhawks, he's going to get 3. Yeah. Next Saturday, Quinn Hughes, Alex Edler against the Blackhawks. He will have the 10 assists. There you go. I called it. Yeah, the yellow skate jersey. I think they could flirt with bringing that back for a night.
It could be a reverse retro kind of deal. I'd be okay with it.
If they did that one the way that the current one looks,
it would probably look pretty good.
It probably would look pretty good.
Grant, not a humongous fan either, but like Linden rookie year jersey.
But an updated version?
An updated version. I think you could be playing the right strings if that happened. That could be the hottest jersey in the NHL if they did that. As a reverse retro. I mean, now that I'm thinking about it more, I'm thinking it might be fire.
Like, it would be, we got to get whoever the jersey people are out there that do all these mock-ups. Someone needs to do a proper mock-up.
To hit up Yerky and see if he can do that.
We'll do it. I'm gonna have to tweet him. I can't multitask. My brain doesn't work that way. Yeah, let's make that happen. Jake DeBrusk. Actually, before we get into anything else, so this is not. Can I take like a pause? Can I take a timeout from the show? Is that all right?
Yeah, do it. We got ad reads or what?
Oh yeah, we got ad reads. Time for some DraftKings and Game Time. Okay, so this is my thing. This isn't part of the show. This was a planned thing, and I'm still being positive, but this has been bugging me the last couple weeks.
Some of the things that bug you just blow my mind sometimes.
House numbers. How come not every house have visible house numbers?
Yeah, I also have a thing that bugs me, but go ahead.
Yeah, house numbers are driving me crazy lately. Now I drive around a lot, but when you're looking for a house number and like it's hidden behind like a rock or it blends in with the house color or something, that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help.
That helps no one.
It helps no one. Yeah, that helps no one. I actually was thinking about it last night. house numbers, we all need to see these house numbers. I don't need the glowing ones. Yeah, I don't just see that you spend lots of money. But let's get a proper system going together with house numbers. It's a very random thing that I'm on, I realize, but guess what? You've been following along for 5 seasons already. You're not learning anything new about me right now. Just a new topic. What bugs you?
Okay, so when you walk into a business,
Yes.
not necessarily in a mall, but just a regular business establishment, you work at one of these business establishments. Some of them are single door, some of them are double door.
Mm-hmm.
Not Dumbledore, but double door. Do you ever notice how one of these doors is always locked?
Yeah, that is weird.
Prior to COVID,
open.
you could open either door
Mm-hmm.
and enter through a business. Now it's always one door is locked.
And you look like an idiot when you get it wrong.
Like frequently grab the wrong door. Why does one door have to be locked now? Like,
I'm
is
not
this
sure.
something that happened in COVID as a rule and then they just like never went away and then it became mandated now?
Maybe it's like a security thing.
But why install the double doors?
Because they're there already.
And it just became a security thing? I don't know. If somebody could please answer me on why this is a thing.
We need to get to the door people.
I think I would love to know.
Had a door. What is this? Someone recently had a DoorDash driver not drive to my house because my gravel driveway had rocks that were too sharp. That's a thing. I mean, maybe he had like a Honda, like it's possible. Do house numbers matter if they're not well lit? If it's in the daytime,
that's a fair point.
I mean, they do matter. As long as they're on, if you can see them, that's the main thing. Like, even if they're dark, it's fine.
DoorDasher's worst nightmare is he drives to Grant's house and they have the rocks that are too sharp and he can't see the house numbers.
The guy's probably shaking his head. He's like, man, I'm on.
He drives to the top of Grant's driveway only to see that it's not the right house numbers.
Yeah, the DoorDash guy's just like, can't he just make it himself? He's on a farm. Like, you got all the chickens and stuff here. Just do it yourself. Sometimes people just need to order food. Okay, DoorDash people, Uber Eats, do house numbers.
What happens in that case? That you get the message from the DoorDasher that they're not going to drive up your driveway because the rocks are too sharp. What happens after that? Does he just go back to the restaurant? Does he keep your food? Do you have to walk down and meet him?
I would say there's a meet happening, but then it gets sketchy.
Just stroll down your driveway in your bare feet just to make him look like a complete ass.
Yeah, like flip flops in there. I would be like, on what's the movie? Cat in the Hat. When Alec Baldwin lets himself go in his place when he looks all like grubby, big pot belly, everything. I would just rock and be like, listen, you're gonna get real me right now because you decided to be a little wussy. Give me my food that I paid for. Let's do this. Don't worry about your car. You're fine. But I mean, when you have flat tires, that sucks. I'm not
literally walked all the way down my driveway. I did meet him at the edge of the concrete in my slippers. Attaboy.
Yeah. See? There's a way to do this. And shook my head when he gave his stupid excuse. See, that's the key. That's key right there. Yeah, I mean, come on, people. We're better than this.
Disappointed dad.
Like, you can afford to drive a car around and deliver stuff. Like, don't worry about it. You can write it off with new tires. Just get over it. Or get better tires. It can't be that sharp. Grant drives over it all the time. Can't be that bad. Just disappointed. So we were talking about that at work today. About not mad, just disappointed. That was a thing. Like about with
the worst thing your dad can say to you.
Oh, it's like, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. That's the worst. Because you want them to be yelling and screaming and they're not. And you're like, this is worse. This is easily worse. Like the yelling and screaming, at least you know it's going to be over. But the disappointed, that's a feeling that just doesn't go away. To this day, my dad's still disappointed. He's not really, but he gives me the look sometimes at work, and I get it.
Our dads are the best. It's pretty hard to argue with that. Yeah.
He just shakes his head at me. We were talking about Facebook today. This is great, by the way. He's talking about, because my dad just got Facebook like, I don't know, a year ago or less, which makes zero sense because he's a social guy, but social media, it just doesn't make sense for him.
So
like
he's a pretty social guy.
He is. It's just he can't even keep the same channel on long enough, let alone like focus on like talking to people. So he's talking about, what did he say? Was it scrolling or trolling? Did he say? I said, you're wrong on both of them right now. He's like, yeah, I just like trolling or scrolling. I'm like, Dad, you gotta stop. Like as an adult son, I'm telling you, let's just end the conversation. You're not doing it right. So he's like, yeah, I'm just in there, because they were banning TikTok in Canada. That's what we were talking about. Anyway, we're good on we vented out on that. Everybody happy?
I think so.
That's cool. That's great. So let's talk about Ovechkin. Let's get into this. Alexander Ovechkin scored again tonight. He has 8 goals, and I didn't see if he got an assist, but 8 goals and 7 assists in his last 12 games. He's not 40 yet, I don't think.
Algarve's age.
Like, think about that. He is on a pace. I mean, the last couple seasons have just been bonkers for Ovi. 39 years old, and he's still on pace to score 42 goals this season. 42. He is going to have more goals this season than the guy that the Canucks are paying $11 million. Again, I'm not bad-mouthing Pedersen. All I'm saying is a 40-year-old man is doing otherworldly things still almost 20 seasons later. That should blow your mind. It's absolutely incredible. And the fact that it's a Capitals team that doesn't have to, like, they're not going and winning a cup anytime soon. Like, this isn't a team that's going to be knocking at the door to, like, end some teams lucky streaks or whatever. Like, they're going to be out there, they're playing hockey, they're building again. And that which is fine. But they don't even have to play the style of hockey, Ted, that they just get it to Ovi, get it to Ovi, get it to Ovi. It's just going to happen anyway. Which is crazy. What does Matt say? Oh.
You get one more season at current age and productivity. You're taking Ovi or Sid right now?
I like excitement, so I'm going with Ovi. Sid's exciting in a different way. I think I'm going for loudness, so I'd go for Ovi. Great question.
What are we at? How many points?
That's not Matt, by the way.
It's got 15 points right now. He's still looking like he's by far Pittsburgh's best player.
He's playing well. Sid's still getting it done.
Ovi scoring goals. But I was just going to say, actually, because we were talking about the Caps don't have to play this way.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that's going on in Washington right now is dedicated to Ovi getting this record.
Jersey tonight, the Screaming Eagle.
And part of that has to do with funneling everything through Ovi and giving him as many chances as he can to score.
But
part of the reason why what?
I was going to say, it doesn't feel forced though. Does it?
I mean, it's not forced. It's just that's the way the franchise is going. They're not going to blow this thing up.
No.
And I love this question.
It is a good question.
And I think I still have to go with Sid. Like he's still an elite level center at the age of 38. He still wins draws. He still plays first unit power play. He's like an absolute stud leader. Gets it done in the playoffs as well. Like, yeah, you're getting the goal scoring for sure with Ovi. But like, I don't know. I still think like 9 times out of 10, you're taking maybe it's not 9 out of 10, but you're taking the winger. You're taking the center over the winger on this one.
I'm an Ovi guy. So for me,
I love Ovi.
Yeah.
Like there's no bad pick here.
No,
I should be very clear about that.
Crosby's still going to be captain of the Four Nations.
Like you're going to take Daniel or Henrik. You only get one.
I'd take Henrik. Different. For some, in that case, I take Henrik. He is the better player. So it felt forced. Yeah, it did feel forced last year, but now, and taking Sid's overall game, Sid is having like this renaissance season. It feels like he's getting back to, I guess, the things they're both doing it, the things that made them who they were, which is weird to say this many years later. So like Ovi's doing it the way he did it back then.
But are we like renaissance season this year? I mean, he had 94 points last year.
Who did?
Sid.
I guess in a way, no, not like the point totals. I think just like the way he's doing it, just like how he's still getting his production. Like he still has the brain and it's still working with his hands, I guess is what I'm getting at.
He looks like a machine. Yeah.
I met him, by the way.
Sid, yeah.
Yeah. True story.
Yeah. He's still got it. Like it seems like a waste, and it feels less so with Ovi because you feel like he's chasing the record, and that's what Washington's doing. They're making sure he gets that record.
It's a hype machine.
Sid is still so good that I feel differently about Sid being in Pittsburgh, because to me it feels like a waste on Sid, because I feel like he could be playing for a cup right now.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily feel that way with Ovi. I want him to be playing and I want him to get that record, but I don't feel bad that he's there. I feel bad that Ovi is in Pittsburgh right now, because I feel like that's a guy that should be playing for a cup right now. And maybe that's
like on a Colorado or whoever.
Yeah, maybe that's the way I feel, the way I do about who I'd rather have out of the two.
Yeah. Yeah, it is different. You're right. Because, I mean, both of those players, Malkin on Pittsburgh anyway, Malkin and Crosby, could be on another team right now and could put another team over the top head and shoulders easily. Where even a couple of years ago, I don't know if we necessarily thought like they were that elite, but it's like they took that final couple steps. And yeah, like Crosby's still so much fun to watch. Like he just is. And it sucks when he's playing against the team.
Complete.
Yeah. Yeah. Same. I have Memorial Cup pass when I did 50-50 signed by him. How wild is that? I mean, if you think about it, so Matt, you were doing 50-50, which means you're still doing, I guess, was it rap hockey, Kelowna minor hockey? I would assume some kind of 50-50. And you have 2 kids now. We're all adults. We're all families and all this stuff. And we're talking about Sid the Kid is still finishing out a career that could see him. I mean, probably won't happen with Pittsburgh, but dude still has an opportunity if he wanted to win another Stanley Cup. That's wild.
Yeah, crazy. We didn't even talk about Malkin.
No, that's a whole other thing.
The forgotten guy in this conversation, right? He was drafted 1 pick behind Alexander Ovechkin and plays second fiddle to Crosby.
Mm-hmm. He did. And I mean, that's going to be,
who by the way has 16 points this year.
But that's Edmonton, right? That's Draisaitl and McDavid. Draisaitl on his own could easily lead that team, or any team, really. But he'll be second fiddle to McDavid, or as close as second fiddle it makes sense. Like when McDavid went down, when he went down with that injury against Philly that one year, like Draisaitl went off. He didn't need McDavid. He was that good on his own. Malkin is that good on his own.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Would you guys stay loyal to a team as a player, obviously, start to finish, or chase the cup cash?
Have I won a cup already?
It's a good question. I think if I haven't won and there's an opportunity, a legit, I mean, Iggy tried it, right? He was probably one of the best examples of a guy. Ray Bourque did it.
Yeah.
Who else? I mean, lots of guys have done it. Old guys on the team. We were talking about Kopitar today at work. Another, yeah.
Oh, love.
I hate that guy for the fact that he's so good. He's one of those guys. Like, damn, we got to play him again.
Is it fair to say that Anze Kopitar is one of the underrated players of this generation?
Easily. He doesn't get enough credit, and he's got Stanley Cup, like legit Stanley Cup winner, core piece of those teams. And you're right. I don't think he gets enough credit, which is a shame coming from all the people that, I mean, he gets a lot of credit, but super underrated.
Yeah. Also, all these old guys. Hey, you got Malkin, Kopitar, Crosby, Ovechkin, like all these guys in there. How is he? 37? Like all these guys in sort of the twilight of their careers that are just like lighting it up right now.
It's good for hockey.
It all looks so good. Like Kopitar's got 15 points this season already.
It's good for hockey if you think about it. Like hockey's gone through some rough stuff in the last while, and even the game itself, there was parts where like it needs to be better. But yeah, I mean, how great is it to start reliving these guys and they're all relevant? Like all these players are super relevant right now, and I think it's great. It is. Bedard rumors, I haven't really heard. Are these real rumors that he wants out? I think, and I mean, we have other stuff to talk about, but let's address it. We're having fun right now.
This is what people want to talk about. Let's talk about it.
This is it. So I think.
Stop interrupting my list.
Frick. Do you not know how a podcast works, guys? Jeez.
I love this. This is great. This is better than the list.
This is better than the list. If Connor Bedard actually did want out this early, what do you think about that? Like let's say legitimate. Let's just let's some fodder on the show. If he actually did want out, I don't know, man. Like I get it that they're losing, but like that's part of the thing. That's part of what happens. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, you want to strive your whole life to be number 1 overall pick. You're going to a bad team.
That's how it works.
That's the way she goes, right? Celebrini. The Sharks are not good,
but they're fun.
Right? I mean, he doesn't seem as frustrated. You're right, Grant. Like he doesn't seem as frustrated in San Jose as Bedard seems like he is in Chicago. Is that just because that's his personality? Is he wearing it? Does that actually happen? Like this I don't really know.
I don't buy it.
We never really actually got to find out like what really happened with the whole Corey Perry situation and if that really played into what's going on. But like, yeah, I mean, if there's smoke, there's fire. Maybe like these rumors got out somewhere. But aren't we like always just really hoping that Bedard wants to just make his way back to Vancouver?
I mean, so there's two parts. Like this generational thing, these millennials, what is he, Gen Z? If he actually wanted out and wasn't willing to like grind it out and become the guy, Kane Seabrook and Keith to help you out. Yeah.
I saw Brent Seabrook when I was in Penticton. He was there for the Young Stars game. And I was looking at the team. I don't know if you've ever been to Penticton. They have like the big
the wall,
the wall, right, where it's got like basically all hockey through BC and all of the amazing things that BC Sports has done. And I was looking at the Olympic photo, and this dude sort of comes up, like he's sort of beside me or whatever. And I move over. I'm looking at other stuff. I make my way over. He's looking at the Olympic photo right now, and I'm walking towards it, and it's Brent Seabrook. So I leaned over like real quick. I'm like, "You see yourself in there?" And he's like, looked up at me, gave me a smirk, and pointed right to his face on the wall and said, "There she be." And then away he went. So that was pretty.
I can't remember if we ended up doing flooring in his house, but I got to meet him, his wife, and his little one at the time, and super cool guy. Just a lot of these guys are pretty cool. I mean, playing baseball against them was an absolute blast. I've never had so much fun trash talking guys that are clearly better than I'll ever be at sport, ever.
Without trying.
Ever. Without trying. And I'm running my mouth as if I'm about to dummy these guys. And it wasn't even close. They're a lot of fun. But yeah, it's neat to see. Like, we're in a weird place in the Okanagan that these are things that happen a lot to people, right?
We're in a destination city for these guys, right?
Like, seriously.
Even the old stories of like, oh, did you see Richard Matvichuk driving around in his cigarette boat?
Dude, I cleaned his truck back in the day. Super funny. So good. Yeah, it is a little different out here, Grant. I mean, they've created quite a culture out here. There's a lot of facilities, and I mean, it is a dream to vacation here anyway. And when you have millions of dollars to do it, it's pretty nice, quiet place to get away from the hubbub of everything. So yeah, like seeing, I mean, geez, I don't see him as much, but like Shea Weber and Georges are coaching their kids hockey team. Who else is out here? Like Iggy's out here watching his kid play. He's doing stuff with Rink. You see like Carey Price. I haven't seen Danny Heatley in forever, but he's been out here. Like I know. They do have the Burger, so I'm going to give you some love for Abbotsford with the Burger. Love that place. Andrew, I watched part of the back end. I had to flag him down.
On the screen, the fact that's a good one.
That's why not? It's a weird thing though to be out here and have these kind of rando stories because they happen so often. Like I was so mad. That's a great Matt. I was so mad that the first time I got to meet Joe McGinley was at like the Team Canada hockey camp when the Olympics were here. And everyone's like, yeah, I just saw Jerome like at Best Buy or Home Depot. And like, yeah, I go to all these places all the time and I have to see them at a hockey event that I have to pay a ticket to. It's not fair. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess you'll never guess who I caddy for. I'm like, go away. I don't care. You gloat about your awesome life. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So
and
yeah, I don't know.
Matt's spent some time with some players the last little while too, right?
Matt's hooked up.
He's got a pretty good gig over there at OKGN, and I definitely been out to a few of those events, and he's always rubbing shoulders with guys like Georges and Tutu, who is an absolute beauty, by the way. Tutu is like, he's the coolest guy.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
later.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
All right. We all got another one we got to talk about soon too, but got to give that guy a call. Yeah, I want to get back to Bedard for a second, digressing. If he wanted out, like, what do you think about that? Is that something that you look at and be like, the guy can't cut it? You know, if he's this frustrated already with a losing team, knowing that he's supposed to be the guy that changes the franchise again. What do you think? Josh, if you're there still too, what do you think, buddy?
Like if it's a losing team and it's dysfunctional,
yeah,
and it's like, a little bit like what was going on in Vancouver the last 4 years, or like last bunch of years, right? Like I think we wouldn't have been surprised if a guy like Petey was like, yo, I want out prior to this last successful season that we had.
Sure.
I mean, so it can happen. I think he noted earlier in here that he doesn't believe it's a Lindros thing. I don't think he's going to go about doing it that way. Whether it was like being drafted by the Nordique and the outrage he caused doing that, but also his exit from Philly was like nasty.
Yeah, it was.
It was not good. And so I don't believe that he's going to do it in that way if he leaves. I think he might just quietly let the things play out and then go where he wants to go if he ever does end up here.
And
here's the other thing. Could you imagine what you would have to give up in a world to get Connor Bedard on your team?
And that's my next point. Listen, folks. We all want Connor Bedard to come home. That would be the thing. That would be it. It really would be. Realistically, that isn't going to happen. I mean, if it does, please, I will give you my phone number and you can yell at me.
What's the haul to pay for that?
It's more than we think. And if any one of those players, like he's not in McDavid status quite yet, but you'd have to give up a ton. And the Canucks are in no business, not even in the next couple of years, to go and absolutely open all the cupboards and be like, take whatever you need. This is what we want. It wouldn't make any sense. It just wouldn't. And I would love to see him on this team. There isn't a move where you don't restructure your entire organization to make it happen. Now, in lesser markets, you can make that happen. I think there are opportunities to do that they can afford to give away multiple first rounders, a top player, a top prospect, all those things. This isn't that kind of a market. They do it like, geez, the Canucks trade away a first round draft pick to get Filip Hronek or who else have they traded those first round? Like this market goes bonkers, like for that guy. So you think that they would absolutely empty the cupboards for a generational talent? Yes, I'm not stupid. I'm aware of how good this kid is. But it wouldn't make any sense right now to do. It just really wouldn't. If the opportunity came up, yes, I know they would kick tires and they'd probably put in, what some people may deem as a fair trade. But he's one of those players. You'd have to empty the cupboards to make it happen. And to the right situation on a different team, they would. But there's no way. Like, exactly. The salary cap ensures you just can't do it. If you do, you have to restructure your team. And then you're just saying that we'd be willing to change everything for this one guy. Well, you can't do that in Vancouver. It just wouldn't make sense.
Matt's right here. So Matt says, does a young guy you got it.
You can read it though.
Does a young guy have that many eyes on him and a wealth of talent change the NHL? Like that trade demand attitude happens in every sport all the time. We can name almost every single occasion in the NHL history. He is bang on about that. That shit goes down all the time. You have players building out their teams in the NBA, having all their buddies come over, call for trades, deciding where they want to play, where they want to go.
Yeah.
Right. It happens. Holdouts in camp every year. How many holdouts do we see in camp?
But those are such
Amari Cooper this year. Before you know it, 6 games into the season, he's out of the Browns and he's into Buffalo.
But those are vets.
They're vets for sure. But like this thing happens all the time, but it doesn't happen in the NHL, and that's why the Lindros thing, for example, was so big. Like it wasn't that big. It was
because it's not that kind of league.
But he's not the only prima donna in this sport that's ever done it.
Right. Like NFL happens all the time. Like, or Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, right? Like that's a great one. There, like it does happen in other sports, NFL, NBA. Like, how many teams want to draft Bronny, right?
It's such an old.
It is
an old man's club league.
Right? It is.
Like it still is after all these years and all this. I want to say progress, but it's really not.
No,
it's marginal.
It would be a lot of fun. That would, like I said, remember when I joked about doing the heel turn? If there was like heel turns, like wrestling in hockey, like that would be a lot of fun. Like guy turns around, goes and scores on his own net. Like, yeah, I'm out.
Yeah.
NWO, baby.
Like PLD went heel turn, right?
He kind of did, yeah. Not quite the same way as I was expecting, but yeah, it's he did that. That's for sure. Does feel like it's headed that way. It's just the NHL just isn't that kind of a league. But whatever. Let's talk about Brock Besser, and then let's get into top 5. So Brock Besser still scoring at a Besser pace. He's looking absolutely locked in. He's having fun. Of all the guys, he's had just a pretty rough couple of years. A really rough start to his career with injuries and everything. His dad. Thanks, Manny. Appreciate it, bud. We're going to have to do a photo shoot, man. Stuff's coming soon. With everything going on, it feels... I can't post the redemption tour picture enough. It feels so good that one of those guys, especially him, is getting it done still. And we're all championing. Like it's, JT Miller has been a wicked addition to this team. My kids love him. And just for me, I get excited to see Brock Besser score because he's pure. It's fun to champion something that, he's getting back to what made him, the guy that got picked instead of Nick Merkley, which I'm glad they did.
And you were all about that too.
Yeah, I still remember watching Twitter. Everyone's like, "Well, we all know what Ryan wants," and then I'm like, "Who's Bozer?" Worked out okay. Worked out all right. So
some guys named Bozer.
And then we saw his locks, and we're like, "Oh, I see what we've got here. But it's pretty cool. Brock Besser, great story. Long-winded. Let's do this.
Top five.
Now, do you have a top 5?
Well, I thought you did.
I do. I can flip it to this thing that we were talking about that I saw on Canucks Reddit.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, no, I don't have one.
So I want to give credit because I think this is a cool thing. But let me just see if I can pull up the name. So
who's still here, by the way? I see Grant's out there. Matt's gone. Joshua, I saw that you signed in. Are you hanging out still? Let us know.
So if you go to our Canucks on Reddit, there's a guy on there that goes by Miruz. I don't know how to say it. Miruzzz. And he started posting this list, and it was just like a Canuck community list. And basically he's got a bunch of categories here, and then he goes by one every week. And I kind of want to do it a little bit faster than just one at a time. I want to maybe do it like 4 or 5 at a time.
Okay.
But there's there's categories, and you have to name a Canuck for this category before you move on to the next question. So credit where credit's due. This was a fun list. I've been following along with a little bit, but I wanted to just like think a little bit less about the players that are in there, and then maybe add players in that I think would be a choice of mine. Okay, so first player in the first category of this is going to be, who is the most underrated Canuck all time?
Well, it's not Joseph Baranek, that's for sure.
Joseph Baranek.
Joseph. Yeah, I went there. Joseph, yeah, or Joseph Ballet.
You gonna take notes? You got? I don't know. Do we need to do that? Probably. We might need to post these.
You and your I have a note.
I got you.
Okay, you got it. Most underrated Canuck of all time. You got to feel like Jannik Hansen's in there.
Well, that's
I think. Brian Allen. I was a huge Brian Allen fan. Career killer Brian Allen. Every time he hit somebody, that guy's career is going to end.
Yeah, remember when he was like one of his first seasons or whatever, and I can't remember who it was, but he laid a guy out at the end of the season, just absolutely schmammered him, and he fell on Brendan Morrison and then also injured Brendan Morrison.
I'd have to look back, but it
ended up being the last game of this, like ended up being the last playoff game, so it was inconsequential. But Mo was then injured for the remainder of the summer as he recovered heading into next year because he took out 2 players in one hit.
You know what? I
remember seeing it was also that the first year that they brought in when the defenseman cleared the puck over the glass, it was a penalty because before only the goaltender was penalized for that.
Right.
And I remember seeing him come out from behind the Canuck net in his own zone and clear it off the opposite end of the ice over the glass behind the goal in the opposite zone.
I remember Sammy Salo doing that. He put it over the goalie, and they're like, "That's a penalty."
Yeah. Alex Edler is his most underrated. I don't know if Alexander was underrated.
He was pretty rated.
He was rated. He had a lot of like, man, this guy is so freaking good, and a lot of like, this guy sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Unfairly. And maybe unfairly put too much pressure on him being a number one. I don't disagree, but I'm not necessarily in agreement either that Alex Edler is underrated. I think he might be rated.
I'm gonna say he's rated. He's rated. I'm going Brian Allen.
You're gonna go Brian Allen? Okay, I'll take out Hansen.
Allen. I was just kidding around. I think Brian Allen.
Brian Allen. Okay.
I just feel like when he got traded away, that was a bigger deal than I think we realized. Because at that time, because that was for the Bertuzzi trade, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, or no.
No,
was it for Bertuzzi or for Luongo?
It was in the Bertuzzi trade
for Luongo. Right. So we got Luongo, but we were giving up a wicked defenseman. I mean, worked out okay. Willie Mitchell joined the crew. But yeah, I think that was one of those guys like, wow, they had to do that, didn't they?
Yeah.
They needed to move him to make this happen too.
I'm going to go. I was really like on the fence about 2 players in this one. And you did mention one of them in this convo, Sammy Salo. And I'm gonna actually say Matthias Olin.
That was the other one I was thinking.
My underrated player. I think he was never the number one guy, but he was just an absolute horse that played those tough minutes, shut down role.
He was a number one for a little bit.
For a very little bit, but he was passed a bunch of different times by other number one defensemen on the squad, right?
That's a good
pick. About the years playing with, Ed Jovanovski, and then Salo came in,
but
Salo was close.
They had to. He was like he's what Edler kind of was.
Yeah. He came in that Patrick Elias year where Elias won the Calder, and then Oli got the eye injury. So I'm going to go.
He would have been like if he ever had the full eyesight.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Matthias Olin. So next question is I know we don't have a ton of time. So we just talked about most underrated.
Yeah.
Most overrated.
Well, I guess you got to span the globe on that one. Most overrated. Oh, baby. That is a tough one.
Is it that tough? I feel like it's real easy.
Is it David Booth?
That's a great pick.
I think David Booth.
David Booth?
Yeah. I think there was just so much expected.
There's a bunch. In my opinion, there's a bunch.
I mean, that's the one that's just in my head right now. Just kind of going through.
David Booth, like Louis Eriksson comes to mind.
Oh, that's an easy one too.
And I'll let you change it if you want to change it. Keith Ballard comes to mind.
No, I'd still put Eriksson above that.
But I'm going to take Mark Messier.
Mark Messier?
Yeah.
He kind of did his thing though.
He did not do his thing. He came in with all this fanfare, was considered this amazing leader, to which he promptly dusted off one of the franchise's great heroes, did nothing during his time here. In fact, Pavel Bure left during his time here.
Yeah.
Because he was unable to weigh or sway him.
But is that overrated? Is that the proper term?
And then the team was absolute garbage while he was here. And he was brought in specifically to turn this team around and have us go towards winning a cup. And he did none of that. And he left the team in significantly worse shape than when he brought it. And Matt Sundin could also be a great pick, but I would argue that
he wasn't overrated. He was their best playoff player when he came. He actually ended up being a huge help that year.
I was going to say that the playoffs is probably what saved him, and he brought clout for free agency and for players to make Vancouver a bit of a destination. But his actual playing time in Vancouver, probably a little overrated.
So Messier started, where is his first season? 22, 13, 17 for goals, 38, 35, 37. So yeah, 60, 48. Yeah. Okay.
Garbage. Overrated.
Yeah. That's interesting stories though. Did you listen to the West Coast Express podcast?
I didn't.
Oh man.
I need to, but I didn't.
We're gonna talk off air because I could rant your ear off.
Yeah, and I'm running out of time here, but we should talk off air.
So yeah, Mark Messier is pretty good. That's a good pick.
Okay. Best player.
Best player? Roberto Luongo.
Roberto?
Yeah. The fact that I said it that quick and I'm a Bure guy, Roberto Luongo.
Right. I'm going to take Quinn Hughes.
Good pick.
He might be the best player this franchise has ever seen.
There's a very good chance that almost there already.
There you go. He's into it.
We need to, and we're going to be done in a second here. I would like a debate of Quinn Hughes versus Roberto Luongo.
I just don't think it's a debate.
No, like just shut up. I was trying to be positive the whole episode, and you just go and just stomp me right at the end. That seems about right. That's where our relationship is, I think. That's fair. That's good. I like that. Best player. Wow, you did like the home runs right away of what we're talking about. You didn't mince words. Like it was, let's talk about these right away. Matt Sundin, yeah. That's good. Quinn Hughes. Yeah. It's probably going to be true that it will be Quinn Hughes.
I think it already is Quinn Hughes. Look at the names that he's in there. Like he just passed Paul Coffey for quickest defender to 300 assists. Paul freaking Coffey.
You know what's
played
wild?
In the 80s with Gretzky and Curry and Messier.
That was a good team.
Messier wasn't overrated.
That's true. You know what's wild though? The fact that I can agree with what you're saying based on the player I said, and the player you said is already ahead of that. And Roberto was no small, wow. Okay, folks. Super Garland and Other Tales was the name of this episode. We talked about Garland for probably 6 seconds. That's okay. Good debate today. Good chatter. Good topics.
There'll probably be a player or two in there that
Sven Butenschon I left off. Sorry.
That Connor Garland might get into.
Garland.
Okay, so that's our third. I'll do them in groups of 4 instead of a top 5, just because.
So do we have to do one more? Is there one more then?
There is one more.
Okay, let's do one more.
This thing's grouped into groups of 4, so I'm going to do it with 4 instead of 5s.
Okay.
So we just did best. So worst. Who's the worst Canuck?
Oh my gosh. That's impossible.
Why is it?
There's been a lot of bad players.
There's a
lot. Fedor Fedorov.
Okay, yeah. You know what? I don't hate that.
He was so bad that his teammate had to punch him out to prove a point.
Okay. I see your
and his teammate is now on Hockey Night in Canada every single week.
Yeah. I mean, and what a beauty. There's probably going to be some opportunities to put
Derek Roy, maybe,
to put him on this list. I'm gonna take Alex Stoyanov.
That's yeah. I mean, I feel like we're kind of in a tie.
I hear he's a great guy. But
Eric Weinrich.
Worst Canuck time is going to be.
He wasn't the worst. Eric Weinrich wasn't the worst.
He had the worst visor by far.
He did. Yeah, it was. I'm still adjusting to the yellow.
And we gave up a high pick to get. Was it? I want to say it was like a 3rd round pick for Eric Weinrich that year when we thought we were going to make a play.
Wasn't Carney there too that year?
Eve Carney. Yeah. Who was the freaking Montreal GM for a while?
He was a Canuck too.
Yeah. The funny guy. He was hilarious.
The name is just like, how am I not saying it?
Might have to save it for next season, or next episode, but
that's fine.
Yeah. So we've got overrated, underrated, best, and worst, and we'll come up with we got some good categories to continue this on for. So maybe I have to tweet this one out, Ryan, but we got some good categories to roll this thing in for next season. Sorry,
next episode.
And it'll be a good one. I'm excited about it.
This is fun. I'm glad you're bringing this to the show, folks. This has been
Weinrich. I love that pick.
I just don't think he was the worst. That's not fair.
Probably not the worst.
That's not fair to him and his family. That's not fair, Grant. You know it. This has been a lot of fun. It's 10 o'clock, so we should probably go to bed. On behalf of Ted, I'm Ryan. This is the PP1 Podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network, brought to you by DraftKings, promo code THPN, and Game Time tickets. Go Canucks, go. Let's see how far this thing goes. Peace out.